It's been less than 6 months since the Phoenix Coyotes played their last game in Arizona, but the puck has already been dropped for a new era that kicked off this week in Salt Lake City. The Delta Center sold out its 11,131 full-view tickets months ago, with an additional 5,000 fans buying obstructed view tickets, knowing full and well that they wouldn't be able to see the entire rink. Utah Hockey Club, just a temporary name, don't worry, beat the Chicago Blackhawks 5-2 to earn the franchise's first win, and let's just say, everyone had a great time. The team announced that the Delta Center did $120,000 in beer sales alone that night, more than any sporting event had ever done in that arena on a single night. With prices at $15 a can, that's around 8,000 beers sold in a single night. Hell, even Wade Boggs couldn't do that in one sitting. Simply put, it was a party in Salt Lake City. Utah billionaire Ryan Smith had been in talks with the NHL for several years about a potential expansion team, and finally, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman called Smith earlier this year, asking him if he wanted to buy the Arizona Coyotes for $1.2 billion and then relocate them to Salt Lake City, Utah. Smith jokes that he had a day to make the decision, adding there was no plan in place for this type of move. He simply knew he wanted a team, and the NHL now had one available. Regardless, Ryan Smith and his wife Ashley flew to Arizona in early April. They signed the deal, brokered by the NHL, and celebrated with an introductory press conference.
You hear about in business and in teams, and later it's all about the people. In this situation, I walked into a room yesterday, I was like, okay, it's just the people. And it's actually a cool parallel to a little bit of Utah. Like, we're doing this in Utah because of the people. And I think we have the best people. And so that's what gives us all confidence to go do it. And it's hard. I mean, this is a tight turn. But I've said this in another interview. When these things come along, you don't blink. Just do it. We'll figure it out. We got amazing people.
So the deal was done, but now came the hard part. Smith had to tell hundreds of Coyotes players and employees their jobs were now located 600 miles away in Salt Lake City. He attempted to soften the blow by offering to help with moving expenses. But okay, he's got the personnel taken care of. What about a practice facility? Well, Utah doesn't have one. So Smith created a plan to build a temporary facility from scratch inside the famous Utah Olympic Oval, promising players they would eventually get a nicer, newer one down the road. The biggest problem, though, well, that was the arena. The Delta Center, home to the Utah Jazz in the 2002 Winter Olympics, functioned primarily as a host to basketball games. Sure, they may have the right seating capacity, but NHL regulation ice rinks and NBA courts aren't exactly easy to swap in and out. Plus, an NHL ice rink is 106 feet longer and 35 feet wider than an NBA court, so several seats would have been obstructed. Ryan Smith and his team did everything they possibly could to retrofit the Delta Center to now host NHL games. For example, they built hockey-specific home and away locker rooms and renovated the broadcast area, but massive construction projects need a little bit more time than 6 months to complete. For some perspective, New York City's 2nd Avenue subway started construction in 1972 and wasn't completed until 2017, just a short 45 years later. So Utah's home games will be limited to 11,131 seats this year, with the league making the 5,000 obstructed seats available for select games, like the party that was the home opener. But just over 11,000 seats makes Utah by far the NHL's smallest venue, with about 4,000 fewer seats than the league's next smallest venue. While this might not seem like a great start for hockey's newest team, fans really shouldn't be concerned. Whereas other sports empires, like Fenway Sports Group or Kroenke Sports and Entertainment, were built carefully and slowly through strategic acquisition of assets over multiple decades, Ryan Smith has built one of the world's most valuable sports properties in just the last 4 years. Back in 2020, Smith purchased the Utah Jazz for $1.66 billion, kicking off his entry into the sports empire world. Over the next 4 years, through his holding company Smith Entertainment Group, America's newest sports mogul now either owns a full or partial stake in the Utah Jazz, Major League Soccer's Real Salt Lake, the Utah Royals of the NWSL, and now the NHL's Utah Hockey Club. I know, we really got to work on the name, and fast. If that wasn't enough, though, Smith also owns several minor league and esports teams, like the Salt Lake City Stars, the Jazz's G League team, valuable real estate like the Delta Center in downtown Salt Lake City, and America First Field in Sandy, Utah, where Real Salt Lake plays. And to think this whole empire started with the origin story so straightforward it seems to be made up. Let me tell you, during early talks with the Jazz ownership group about purchasing the team, Smith came up with an offer by doing what I call millennial research. He pulled out his phone, searched the Forbes valuation of the team, and simply offered that price. Now, I'm not sure I'd recommend that negotiating strategy the next time you ask for a raise. This aggressive yet simple style has made Ryan Smith a ton of money on paper, as the Jazz have already doubled in value since his 2020 purchase. However, as one of the few people in the world who owns several major professional sports franchises, all within the same city, mind you, Smith is already setting his sights on something much bigger. After securing a participation agreement with Mayor Aaron Mendenhall to keep the Jazz and the hopefully renamed soon Utah Hockey Club in downtown Salt Lake, the city will raise its sales tax by 0.5%. With $525 million of the projected $900 million in additional funds going toward arena renovations and an entertainment district. If you think this is taking advantage of taxpayer dollars, don't worry. Smith's company, SEG, is also committing at least $3 billion of its own money to the project. If that wasn't enough, Smith has agreed to pay a $250 million exit fee if he breaks the agreement, and he'll also be adding a special ticket fee to every ticket sold at the Delta Center, donating the extra money toward an affordable housing project in Salt Lake City. This is a big deal for Smith for two reasons. Number one, he'll have the money to renovate the Delta Center and make it more suitable to an NHL team. And number two, he's now able to reimagine more than 100 acres of downtown Salt Lake City for a mixed-use development, bringing in a mix of shops, restaurants, bars, apartments, and hotels in the surrounding area. The project itself will generate billions in tax revenue for the city when it's complete. So while everyone usually has a problem in the right to complain about billionaires getting free money from taxpayers to increase the value of their sports assets, this deal feels a little bit different given how much money Smith is investing not only in the teams, but in the city itself. Also, I don't know Ryan Smith personally, but he just seems like a great dude. There may not be any journalistic proof of that opinion, not that there could be, but he gives off the vibe of someone who'd be both a good hangout and a supportive friend. This is a guy who built an $8 billion software company with his dad and brother. He also introduced fan-friendly concessions at the Delta Center, allowing fans to purchase snacks like popcorn, nachos, and hot dogs for just $3. That wouldn't even get you a hot dog bun at Yankee Stadium. Most importantly, though, the Utah Jazz donate a full, tuition-free, 4-year scholarship to an underrepresented or minority student after every single win. And with the team winning an average of 42 games per season over the last 4 years, the Utah Jazz have already spent millions of dollars sending nearly 175 kids to college. Now, that's incredible. So while sports franchise kingpins like Stan Kroenke and the Glazers have dominated the game for several years, we should be excited for newcomers like Ryan Smith to come in and show you exactly how they can do things differently.